So let's take a minute to just appreciate just how much Nigel Farage has accomplished in his career. He was a stock trader or something like that, and then he went into politics because he hated the EU and thought the EU is a piece of shit, I need to get Britain out of it. And like he said at his "You're not laughing now" speech, he fucking did it. The man actually fucking did it. And now he gets to turn around and say whatever the fuck he likes in the EU Parliament, and he seems to have lost all just pretense of giving a fucking shit about their opinions. And I've got to say, I am loving every second of it. It is just amazing to watch politicians just chew each other out. Because, you know what? It's been too long. It's been far too long since these people have had someone, like Farage, just say something that's actually true to them.
You're behaving like the mafia. You think we're a hostage. We're not. We're free to go. We're
Jesus Christ, Nigel. Tell them what you really think.
Free to go. And 85. And now I do understand.
Onorevole Farage.
I do understand.
Onorevole Farage.
Sorry, Mr. Farage. Listen, I'm trying to give you the chance to speak and say everything you want to say. But if you're talking about the mafia, you're saying this Parliament is behaving like the mafia. As far as I'm concerned, that's unacceptable.
Oh, boo fucking who.
Do understand.
There's Verhofstadt and his fake hair. Jesus. He's the guy who called to the Empire.
I do understand, sir, Mr. President.
Oh, there's Juncker. Hi, Juncker. All of your dreams are crumbling to dust.
I do understand national sensitivities. I'll change it to gangsters.
And there we go. I mean, you have to understand just how hated Farage is in Britain, right? You wouldn't think it, the way he's been received internationally. But in Britain, like, the middle classes despise him. They think he is Satan. Go to London, he's Satan. Go to fucking anywhere in the south of England, he's Satan. He's probably a saint in the north of England. But in the south, he's not very well liked. And I don't know why, because I'm finding myself liking him more every day because of the way people are treating him and the way he's just like, you know what, pfft, have two middle fingers. In fact, talking about Guy Verhofstadt, his opinion on what Brexit is and what's happening in Europe and what's happening in the EU is just really misinformed. EU Parliament's chief negotiator brands Brexit as a catfight in Conservative Party that got out of hand. That is such a weird thing to suggest, that somehow an internal rift in the Conservatives would get half of the country to vote to leave the EU. It just couldn't happen. It's not... You have to understand, Guy, there must have been a huge grassroots depth of feeling behind why they did this, because it's a really, really big deal. Verhofstadt said that in future, younger generations will call Brexit out as a waste of energy stupidity. They won't. Because after the EU has crumbled, and it is, and it's certainly going to, and I tell you what, if Le Pen wins, you're in some real trouble, aren't you? Let's be honest. He said, I'm also sure that one day or another, there will be another young man or woman who will try again, who will lead Britain into the European family once again. Probably, and that person should probably be treated like a traitor. Lamenting that perhaps it was never meant to be, you sound like an ex-girlfriend of mine. Never be blamed for having tried to make a relationship with Britain work. You are impoverishing Europe. You are actively impoverishing Europe. You are keeping the pigs nations in ever-decreasing poverty. And it's never going to get any better. They can't match the economic force of Britain, Germany and France. They can't do it. And so until they can do it, which is going to be never, then they'll always find themselves getting poorer and poorer. But I love this. Let's not forget, Britain entered the Union as the sick man of Europe, and thanks to the single market came out of the other side. Europe made Britain also punch above its weight in terms of geopolitics, as in the heydays of the British Empire. Yeah, you know what? I think the British Empire is something maybe we should leave in the past. Maybe, just maybe, we should be looking for ever more devolution, ever more accountability of the people who are making decisions above us. Maybe that's what we should be arguing for. Maybe a giant world-spanning superstate is in fact not the way of the future. Maybe that is actually the way of the past, because that's where all the world-spanning superstates tend to be. Have you not noticed that ever more devolution means less corruption, because the average person has more contact with the people actually setting the rules over their life? But don't even think about taking Gibraltar from us, just so you know. They are British citizens, they are part of Britain and her far-flung territories, and we're keeping them. Do you know what this is called? A double standard. And you know why we're acting this way? Because it's okay when we do it. Seriously though, I do not understand this posturing from my own government. What are you doing? We are not actually going to go to war with Spain. It's not going to happen. 4 days after formally triggering Article 50, the Prime Minister has been forced to reiterate the UK's steadfast commitment to Gibraltar, as senior figures in the Conservative Party caused embarrassment by suggesting that the UK could go to war with Spain, as it had done with Argentina over the Falklands. Look, it's a slightly different situation. Yesterday morning, a Cabinet Minister and former Tory leader both appeared on television to strongly suggest Theresa May would be prepared to go to war with Spain, a NATO ally, if it used Brexit negotiations to seek to assert sovereignty over the UK territory, which is nothing at any point it's indicated to do. I mean, I don't want to side with the Spaniards against my own government during the Brexit negotiations, but this is really, really silly, guys. You don't need to do this. You don't need to say this. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I know that our navy is far weaker than it was during the Falklands War, but apparently we could still cripple Spain, military experts have said. So it's not like we haven't got the advice going, well, yeah, you could absolutely thrash the shit out of them if for some reason you happen to go to war. But again, come on, guys, this is a really stupid conversation that you're having here. This is not going to happen. Britain and Spain are not going to go to war over Gibraltar. But of course, this is all a part of the fact that the European Parliament has voted to toughen their stance on Brexit. They plan to get tough, which is the whole point of Nigel Farage's video in the first place. This is why they are acting like a mafia. But look at the way that the European Parliament is described to operate. It really strikes me like the Roman Senate or an aristocratic assembly. With support from 516 out of 699 members, the European Parliament added more demands to the main principles laid out by the bloc's negotiator Michael Barnier, who is likely to take them into account during the talks. See, they think that they are setting him a bunch of rules and exactly a sort of set of guiding principles, obviously. I mean, which everyone's obviously going to have, but it's the fact that they are making principles as demands. While the European Parliament has no direct say in the negotiations, its vote will be needed to cement the final divorce deal. We will not give our consent if the conditions are set in the resolution are not respected, said Italy's Gianna Pittella, who leads the socialist bloc in the European Parliament. Well, if we can't have it perfectly, then we won't have it at all. It's like, okay, well, then you probably won't get it at all, will you? On the disputed divorce bill, which EU officials expect to reach €60 billion, which is £52 billion, think that's why Nigel Farage is calling you the mafia, or, sorry, gangsters. Use the accurate terminology. But do you see why? I mean, you can't think that we're going to do that. I mean, that's ridiculous. €60 billion just to leave your oppressive tyrannical superstate. You don't have an army yet, so we can just say no. And the reason you don't have an army is because we fucking vetoed it. And I guess the reason we vetoed it is because we need to pull some shit like this at some point further down the road. European politicians said it should cover not just all commitments made by the UK during its time as an EU member, but also so-called off-balance sheet items. These items would include, for example, the UK's share of any losses made by the European Investment Bank during the UK's time as a shareholder. Tough fucking shit, sunshine. Mr. Barnier said, "We don't seek to punish the UK, but simply ask to deliver on its commitments taken as a member. If the UK wants to participate in future EU programmes, it must contribute to the EU budget and let itself be governed by the top EU court." Yeah, that's the problem. That's exactly why we're leaving. We don't want to be governed by the top EU court. We don't want to pay for this unelected bureaucracy to dictate what's going to happen to us. We can get by with our own unelected bureaucracies just fine, thank you very much.